Okay, I guess now I'm here. Welcome everyone. Welcome friends and lovers of astrology. It is August, no more. September the 7th today. I'm still having difficulty keeping track. Time is a very interesting phenomenon these days in particular. Anyway, let's get to the point. I have some really good news, and I'm having some quite bad news for you today. And I will start with the good news. So you see, I have this chart here for November the 4th, which is just a few days shy, actually 1 day shy of that big event. Kind of this whole year has been geared toward in many ways, so obviously this is a powerful point in time which we are navigating towards, and it is looking quite somber, to be honest. First of all, let's just look at this chart alone, which is actually super important. Mars just entered Cancer actually, and we will go back to that in a few minutes. On the 4th of September, and Mars is super important, as we know it is the planet of male energy, of making things happen, of action, and of courage. And as we know, this is the real most serious problem we have on this planet, is the missing of the sacred masculine in its full force, in its full integrity and embodiment. Really, that is the word I'm looking for, because intentionally, as we know, all these estrogen-like chemicals are found in the environment. Let's leave it open if there's an intention behind that. Most likely there is, but yes, that is what has been weakening the male energy embodiment on this planet for decades, and we are just about getting to the place where we are truly recovering in a big way as a humanity, I would say. So therefore Mars is super important, and Mars in Cancer, as is now, is going deep into the vault of memory and of knowing how to support one another. That is, it's a water sign, it's a moon sign, it's all about care and mothering and taking care. Many people who work in healthcare have a strong Mars in Cancer or something of that sort. So it is kind of that energy of working in a hospital almost, which we have going from pretty much September 4 into November the 4th. Then is Mars moving on to Leo, but only for a short time. It will station on December the 8th, which is just barely a month after that ingress into Leo, station at in the 7th degree of Leo, to then move backwards, which is initiating one of these very important periods of Mars going backwards, which only happens about every 28 months. So this is a important reset for Mars energy, and it will start in the 7th degree of Leo. And guess what? That is where the New World chart has its north node. Beautiful. This in itself is part of the good news I'm bringing you. We are moving into an extreme initiation of really masculine powers, and this will be first very clear coming into the open that 1 day prior to this big target of 2024, on November the 4th, Mars enters Leo, fire, combustion, and release all that powerful male energy. Mars in Leo, according to the Tarot, is Lord of Valor, which is courage in its purest form. It is understanding the value the worth of us being here and doing the right thing as long as we can. So there might be a moment we have lost that ability, and this is actually really the big threat on this planet right now, that we pretty much lose all our freedom of speech being the topmost important freedom of anyone and everyone, the freedom to express yourself and say what you think and say what you see and share it with others. So anyway, this is really a battle we are in, and it will go deep into the emotional area between September 4 and November 4, and then we get into the fire, and we will be right prepared for what is to come. And I tell you, we will have President Harris. Just listen. Don't jump ahead to bad conclusions. This is a necessary activation, initiation. This will really, really put the fire under people's bums and make them do the right thing. So far we're still delegating. Okay, somebody will come in and take care of us. No, it won't go that way, because I mean, you know, for the last 7 decades or so, pretty much all so-called elections, pretend elections, really have been manipulated in all major countries. Manipulated in the way that the person who is chosen will be coming in and will rule the country for that time period. And there's always a very, very clear preparation of some people in the background of who will be chosen, and then all these irregularities just lately, that's kind of new that this comes into the light. I guess it has been going on forever. It is just a state of where we are as a humanity, that we are not free, period. Anyway, so this is coming to an end, and it is definitely a great sign that Mars will station on December 8 here, right on the North Node in the 8th house after all. And this is the chart which Dane Rudyard was working with, the great astrologer of the 20th century, probably the most outstanding figure in that field, a true authority. And I mean, this chart just makes so much sense that this would be the moment when the declaration was coming in power, when the signatures were put onto that document after having negotiated and worked it out all in the details. That was the moment. The signature is the moment when something is truly manifesting in that sense. That's when you give your signature for whatever, a mortgage or whatever. This is the legal imprint marker in this frequency which constantly is shifting and changing. This is the photograph taken, and this is what we then will refer to in terms of how we connect with that moment, with that energy. With Sag rising, go back to my earlier recording where I went deeper into this chart. Still, one could say many things. One thing definitely is important to be said. There's different astrologers naturally who use different times of day, because this is all not really documented down to that detail. However, if we take the day as such, then most planets move very little, and the node is one of them. The node can change houses, but it will still be pretty much around 6 degrees and 30 minutes in Leo, which is with that south node in Aquarius. Yes, I mean, it's so beautifully anchored and visible in this chart how the energies really are. Yes, we are basically very humanitarian already. We are not so-called racists. That pretty much has been overcome. That is the beautiful thing. At this point, it's pure propaganda. Whatever is still mentioned on that note, it's pretty much inexistent, I would say. And the importance really is not to indulge in that loving everyone and being of support and of helping out. Yes, this is super important as a base, but we have to get into the lead position as a leader, bringing out our qualities of courage and really expressing ourselves. That's what Leo is all about. Leo is the sun's sign. It is standing on the big stage and having a big mouth, speaking out so everyone hears, even the ones in the farthest corner of the big auditorium. That is Leo energy pure. So it is important we really get back to that. And again, I will emphasize, this is not just the United States birth chart. This is really the birth chart of the whole new era we are entering, as we now clearly know and see that this is the country which is leading edge toward the manifestation of this great dream of ultimate freedom, as it is declared in also in the French Revolution's maxims: Liberté, Freiheit, freedom, Freiheit, Fraternité, brotherhood, sisterhood, and Égalité, which is sameness. We all have the same rights. We all are on the same level of recognition, so to say. There's nobody higher, there's nobody lower, there is no vertical hierarchy in that sense. There's people who are better at that and others are better at this, and it is kind of that recognition. It doesn't matter if you're the one who is cleaning the bathrooms or if you're the surgeon doing whatever brain surgery. You both have a valuable and super important place in our universe, exactly the same as in your garden. Every plant has its particular contribution. That is truly Aquarian egalitarianism, and yes, that is at the root, but we have to get to be taking that, building onto this in that sense, really embracing our potentials, our given and developed qualities. In that sense, that's always what the South Node is about. It's what we bring into this existence. The nodal axis is the most important, in my opinion, in any astrological chart. Certainly aside from Sun, Moon and Ascendant. Anyway, I won't get too deep into this chart in itself. I will now show you the story I have here ready for you. So this is Mars entering Leo November the 4th. It will be in that sign till January the 6th. Interesting date too there. November 4, December 8 when it turns retrograde, and then or the 6th, I guess it is in December, and the 6th in January when it moves back into Cancer once more. Yes, now on its way back, and it will be in Cancer again for another 3.5 months till April the 18th, when it then has its second time in Leo, which truly will be then the, I guess this is easy to see, the deliverance phase, when all these qualities really start bubble up to the top, and we are having matured through the retrograde period. For sure, that's always an upgrade, and regrouped our energies, and then are able to really be very much in that leader position starting in mid-April. So it is a process, and Mars is definitely very much telling that this process will be intense. Just look here, this alone, I mean, it's a perfect opposition, just shy by a few minutes to Pluto, here the planet of highest degree here in this chart 2946. However, Mars at the time when it enters Leo will already have passed the exact opposition point, which means in the release phase. This is very, very helpful, at least, because we have gone through the most direct confrontation and have gotten the inspiration from that energetic download which happens when the aspect is clear, and are now in the release phase into Leo. So this is really when the big uprise will start, and that's what I am naming this episode here, the Great Uprising into 2025 and beyond. I mean, I have to be honest with you, I have seen already in 2020 that it will be quite an expanded journey towards what we are hoping to arrive at. I was very hesitant, have always been, to kind of tell you the full truth, because myself I didn't really want to see it. I really was hoping it would go faster in spite of me knowing better. Why I say this is I had long known of this chart here, which was the secondary progressed new moon, the 9th new moon since the year 1776 in progressions. Now this date is not really telling you the full story. This is when, you see, in astrology we use secondary progressions, which is each day after birth counts for 1 year. That's a very basic key for those of you who are new in this subject. And it is based on fractals, very easy to be understood. As the sun moves once, I should say differently, Earth moves once around the sun. That's truly what it is, as we know, but however we experience it the other way. As the Earth moves once around the sun, this is the fractal of Earth rotating once around itself of 1 day. Makes sense. So when we want to know what happens 5 years after 1776, actually 228 it is already. So we go 228 days ahead of this date, which, as you easily can see, 228 is roughly 2/3 of the circle. So that's where the progressed sun is in this chart, which, as you see, is 1926 here, where the new moon happened by progression. So this was the 9th progressed new moon. A new 30-year cycle started on that day, and again, this is debatable depending on the time of birth you use for the nation, for the true moment of signing that document of Declaration of Independence. But regardless of the time, this is really what I want to emphasize, this chart holds, because this may be a few months prior or later, depending, as hours kind of translate into months on that level. But this is the year of the progressed new moon, and this is a very difficult one. Why? Because it is opposing the black moon in the base chart, and the black moon is really the center of darkness. It's the deepest trench in the ocean. That's where all the unprocessed and pushed away emotions, feelings are piling up. It's the farthest place the moon is distant from Earth, and in a psychological way, this is when somebody runs away from you. You get to be to get to that place where you're afraid, are they ever coming back anymore? Did they abandon you? All of that is in that point, kind of focused, contained. So you can see always the opposite point of where the sun is where Earth is by projection. If we would stand on the sun, we would see Earth in this section of the zodiac 1926. You see, this is yes, the true endarkenment of Earth going through the eye of the needle, and that could have been calculated already 228 years ago, that this would be a difficult year, a difficult 30-year period, starting of truly facing the shadow and finding the light within that most darkest place. That is how it goes, that is how energies work. So anyway, this is the background story here, and I could go deeper. I mean, this in itself is interesting too. I don't want to use time for this right now. I'm just really like to put the base in place for you to understand why I come to the conclusion I have come to. Okay, now let me give you some evidence here. Why is this chart difficult? This is the Greenwich chart for the whole planet. That's the whole planet. It naturally is rooting for that to happen, which should happen if everything was played correct and straight, as I guess makes. Meanwhile, it's a huge majority who are on that track, I'm sure. It's a very small minority who have not yet really added up all the dots and seen the picture, which is getting obfuscated and yeah, you know what I mean, by all kinds of propaganda, trying to paint over it, make it different from what it really is. I mean, that's what that whole conquest of nature really is. Turn everything into something artificial, take away its basic natural resources, even make it impossible for it to really exist anymore if we go to the extreme, so as the artificial then wants to be in power. Very simple as that. I guess it is really at the bottom of everything. So anyway, the long and short, we have the black moon rising, and there is this symmetry, the sun in the middle in Scorpio and the moon here in Sag. Moon and black node, black moon and ascendant. If you look at the symmetry, the sun is exactly at the center, together with the part of fortune. So this in itself is a difficult configuration. It's a yod, also a finger of God, which points toward the earth. The saving grace here in this chart is this TX300, which is the loudmouth, which is the energy which I saw expressing itself really beautiful during the trucker convoy here in Canada in spring 2022. That little Kuiper belt object was highlighted over and again in that time. This is the voice which is just using a megaphone, getting a big machine truck to really impose and make its size bigger. That's what we need. But it is confrontation that is very clear. It's not a fun moment, really. That's what it means in simple terms. Now, this is really just one chart. Now I want to really build on that. And this is the same chart, that same moment when the Mars enters Leo on November the 3rd. It is in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That is where the contract was signed. So this is really the birthplace. So this is the midpoint between that same moment the Mars moved into will move into Leo, and its base chart, the moment when it all started. So again, ignore the ascendant, the houses for a second, just look at the planets and what makes really, what made it very clear that yes, things probably won't go the way we are hoping, expecting. Everybody would put their money on because yeah, it's become really obvious that this should be the way it goes. But there's the black moon at 2 degrees Libra. Now this is the midpoint chart. You see, this is the time space midpoint between those two moments. That is the hinge. That is where you meet with history, where we meet, where our present energies we are dealing with are received and mirrored by the base energy who we are, in that sense, vibrationally. And that's what pretty much the birth chart shows. It shows your vibrational patterns. And the midpoint is where they meet, where they interact with one another. And so the midpoint black moon pretty much exactly on the midheaven. So you see, this is actually, let me just go step by step here. So this is September 5, 1900. And this is what it comes down to, the exact midpoint of these two. And I mean, in itself, this chart with the Moon-Mars opposition, it shows this is a big activation which is going on. Mars here at the 4th house cusp, also in Cancer, as it is right now. I say also, yes, at this moment it moved on, it will move on to Leo, November 3rd or 4th. However, in the midpoint it is in Cancer, here at the 4th house cusp. So this Cancer energy stays there as a base note, you would want to say. And then, okay, this is September 5. Now let me go to the next chart here, which is September 6. So this is in the midpoint, one day more, and this is when the black moon, Davison combine, that is the name of the time-space midpoint system, technique I should say. It's an English astrologer who devised this method, which is just brilliant. Davison midpoint chart, where the black moon is exactly at the midheaven, MC, medium coeli, of the New World chart. That's what all that a little encrypted. Yeah, there's just not enough space to write it out. So this New World midpoint with November the 7th, 2024, which would be 2 days after that target of the 5th. On that note, V for Vendetta, check that movie out. There's something about November 5 in there. The moon, the black moon at 2 degrees 11 minutes of Libra. A very dark moment in time for the nation and for everyone. That is what it shows. I'm just telling you what the energies show. It could express in different ways. I mean, it could be a huge catastrophe on another level, but it is kind of having that catastrophic energy. And on that note, I want to say astrology doesn't lie. The only problem with astrology is it's a symbolic language, and every symbol can express on so many different levels. And yeah, it's kind of, it's just pure energy, and energy can express in many ways, and the future is in constant motion. So anybody who gives forecasts of this will happen and that will happen, we always fall short. I mean, we can kind of project extrapolate from where things are, where most likely these energies will run, in which direction they're most likely to be expressed at this moment in time. But other than that, it's really all guesswork what we think in terms of manifestation. So mine here too, my expression, absolutely my explanations too, are in that same category. It's just one way of looking at it. However, from where we are, as this is also charged, it is kind of very likely that this will be the level of its expressions. So see also Chiron rising here in this chart. Chiron, always when Chiron is angular and prominently placed, this is a time potentially of crisis. It is an assessment of something which has not gone right, you could say. It is really looking at the mistake and facing the truth of what has gone wrong. And in that sense, it's a painful process, absolutely, but it is the door toward healing. And that's all which Chiron is expressing. When it's angularly placed naturally, this is a main theme. Now let's do the overlay quickly. You see, okay, inside you have the natal chart of July 4, 1776. Outside you have the midpoint chart between that moment and the present, which will be at the 7th of November at the time. And here you see the black moon 2 degrees 11 in Libra. Okay. Now let's jump back. I really want to build you the story from where we are, because it is important naturally to kind of take into consideration how things likely will manifest. It is to be prepared, really. It is the same thing you do, that you get some extra whatever groceries in your basement for the unforeseen event. So it is good that we have the foreknowledge and we can prepare. And that is what it's all about. And better prepared we are for the eventuality of this type of timeline manifesting itself, that we will have the first woman president. How wonderful. I liked the other day how all the press got it wrong when Putin made a remark about the infectious laugh of this lady, that he really likes that, and the whole media jungle jumped on board and said Putin had endorsed Miss Kamala. Interesting. Yes, anyway, anything they can run with, which yeah, it's a real comedy at this time. Anyway, here we are. Mars entered Cancer on September the 4th. This is the Greenwich global chart, and what stands out right away is Aries on the ascendant, really exact by 3 minutes of arc. Aries is a feminine energy who is invested in getting the truth out. Nothing but the truth. Integrity is really, really high on the list. Justice, doing the right thing, even going through conflict and war in order to achieve the proper natural balance. So this speaks for it that Mars in Cancer will do the right thing in the third house here globally. So yes, it is still carrying that Gemini energy of interaction, of deep interaction, now much deeper than in Gemini alone, because now it's the moon's sign which touches on emotions. We have to get each other moving. That's really what it means. And emotions is really always at the center of when things start changing. It has to be an emotional motivation. Just barely only a cerebral is not good enough. And that is what Mars in Cancer definitely is promising. And all I guess we can feel it, we can see it. It is gripping on a deeper level. With Aries rising, yes, Mars sign rising, naturally this is helpful. Mars is the kind of the birth ruler of this chart, you could say, so Mars is really important here. And the moon at the time here, emerging new moon, the sun in the 13th degree of Virgo, the moon meanwhile 20 degrees ahead of the sun, in Libra, in the second degree of Libra. Here approaching this really difficult stellium we have been kind of experiencing the last few days. I thought it was pretty clear, I guess in everybody's experience. The moon traveling over the south node here, the black moon, Venus, and Juno, and then mixed in here is also the vertex, which really brings the focus there that this is the gate towards integration in a higher way of receiving and connecting with the world around us. That's what the vertex is. It's that higher dimensional descendant, if you want, descendant being the meeting with the outer world. A very spiritual place, point, focus. So yes, it is what we just went through. This was kind of the beginning of it when Mars entered Cancer. We already have graduated through the first 5 days of that, or 4 days. It was and my video here is in that same energy. It is kind of a sobering, coming to terms with really much more difficult reality and picture than we first thought with. And these days also the sun is approaching the opposition with Saturn and with Nessus, which is not an easy combination. This is really being pushed on with our noses onto all the darkness and the suffering and what's wrong in this world. Nessus is the one who brings that really out into the open, that pathological, I would say it's mental illness, really, that what the Nessus is representing at its deepest, very misguided. So all these energies we are presently facing, and this is the 6th house after all, where all that happens in when Mars entered Cancer. So it is all about healing, health, service. This is the big theme. I mean, it's no surprise that it shows like that in astrology. It is the theme of our times, to come to terms with all which our reality and our health in particular has been tampered with. It's a healing journey. Definitely the big key word here. So anyway, this is the starting point, and when we now take this same chart and run with it and go to Philadelphia, the kind of the people's hub in this wonderful country of the United States, if you want. It's the birthplace of that wonderful idea. Hence, I will, from now on, when I do charts for the US, always use Philadelphia as the birthplace. And Washington, anyway, you know probably, is not even part of the United States. It's, yeah, we don't go there. So, I just want to point out a few things here in this chart, as this Mars ingress into Cancer will play out here. Ground zero versus from far away seen, from based in Greenwich. So here a close in, really involved in the story. There is this Capricorn, Cancer, ascendant, descendant, and this is the Sabian symbol of the train wreck. Interesting. A difficult degree for sure. And the 5th degree of Capricorn I thought was very telling too, which is Indians on the warpath. While some men row a well-filled canoe, others in it perform a war dance. The keynote, the mobilization of physical and emotional energies in a spirit of conquest. Yes, I guess that's really the very telling again, very much what we experience the energy to be. However, the train wreck over here is not really promising that we are moving in the right direction. Another really interesting thing is that 28th degree of Libra and Aries here, you see that is exactly squaring Pluto here, which is kind of the, I would say, the greatest challenge in the chart here for the new world is that Pluto in the 2nd house, which is, I would say, in its worst form, it really shows that obsession with power and even over dead bodies. It is a very super intensely charged planet here, which is in the process of being transcended, as we just had the Pluto return in the last few years. We have completed that for sure. Pluto only goes back to 29 something, which will be when it will turn direct on October the 12th, right? Anyway, watch out, this 28th degree. So we are, whatever is T-squaring here, the power axis, that is the confrontation, that is really the deepest challenge, which is sitting here if we overlay it here. Interesting that that whole big and dark and difficult stellium here in Libra of really emotionally connecting with that shadow frequency. Yes, I think I am not wrong if I say the last few days were challenging in terms of relating with others, in terms of seeing deeper into issues we have with one another, maybe recognize even the deeper cause of it, to learn to not really just blame or kind of accuse, but go deeper, see the deeper reason behind why is a person, an individual expressing it, himself, herself that way, and kind of along the line of walking in each other's shoes, being able to truly from within understand why a person would be the way they are, and also the understanding that everybody always expresses who they are in the bigger picture. This has nothing to do with who you are, what is projected at us. Yes, it is definitely important to reflect on it and to listen and to go within with whatever you hear and analyze it, be the judge, as neutral as you can be again, and find out what is true and what is not. I mean, we learn from one another. This is why we are here with one another. If we would be a soul being in a whole universe, we would feel really lost, really abandoned. And to have all your mirrors around you is a beautiful thing, and it shows us many different faces of who we are really. We are it all. That is the deeper spiritual truth. Anyway, whatever you see and you experience out there is part of who I am. So I'm very lucky that I have so many of you there in different continents and locations to reflect me in a way or other. And I guess this is really the network that is growing. It's like the developing brain of a baby, where neurons are making pathways to other neurons, and the better the brain of the baby is able to interconnect, the more brilliant its abilities to compute reality it will be able to. So this is really happening. If you want, the collective mind is powering up very fast because of all these dendrites growing in all directions. There is a real closing of shoulders, that Juno energy here in the lead. Yes, it's beautiful. Juno is all about that. Juno in Libra right now, and you see also in the base chart here, 1776, Juno is in Libra, one of its best placements. Juno is the wife of Zeus. In her Greek name she is Hera. So it is about being faithful to one another, even though there is difficulty, as you know. I mean, she has been cheated on many times by Zeus. She always is ready to forgive and forget. Naturally, this is a bad behavior of her husband, but eventually, hopefully, this will be cured too. Anyway, that's a totally different story. Don't want to go there, but just saying, it is that ability to oversee faults in each other, and just understand that if we stand strong together, it's like many pillars holding a big roof. That's how a strong society is built, when we are bonding together, and that is happening as we speak. This chart definitely shows it's a spiritual process here in the country of question. It's a spiritual journey. Okay, now let's look. I already showed you this one here, just once more. Here it is in big. You can take a screenshot if you like. And here is the overlay inside the base chart, outside Mars entering Cancer. And why I'm showing it once more here is the overlay is the moon is here right in midheaven. This shows once again that the people are really becoming the main focus of reality. People bonding together, the grassroots movements, you could say. And you see the moon here in the midpoint chart. No, I'm saying it wrong here. In the presence in the present, that moment, the 4th of September, the moon was here, right? Okay, when Mars entered Cancer. Here, yeah. Anyway, but this is the midpoint chart of the two, and this again shows, okay, this is now Mars entering Cancer, September 4, and the base chart, this comes to August the 5th, 1900. What jumps out most obvious and strong is Moon conjunct Uranus here. Yes, this is really the activation phase of Mars in Cancer. Yes, we are starting to vibrate as a whole population. It becomes so much more profound an experience now with Mars entering in Cancer, in that emotional sign. So that's what it really is. And Cancer, Sagittarius being the sign of fire, revolution, of a journey towards a better future really, and Jupiter here in the lead. This is a powerful stellium here in the 10th house. And look at the base chart here, all grouping around the ascendant, and most of all Uranus natally 855, pretty much exactly on the south node. Yes, this is a supercharged interaction between who we are as a humanity dealing with this present energy. That's really what it says in a global way, more specifically for the US naturally. But again, 27th degree of Capricorn and Leo, and again this is just based on this particular day of time. If we choose a different time for the base chart, then these axes will shift. However, the repetition of these 27th degrees as one of the strong arguments that this chart over here with this time really holds and gives very good results. Just even thinking of the last let me say it right, full moon was at 27:15 in Aquarius. Again shows that yes, this is a super special moment in time we are experiencing on this planet, focused on the American nation. And the moon, by the way, this just as on a side note, has this exact 30-degree angle to Pluto. 30-degree angles are interesting. They're like siblings. And what it is with siblings, we kind of grind on one another. That's very often my experience. It was definitely. And meanwhile, I'm a best friend and supporting one another with my wonderful brother. This can happen, but it is a process, and it is a beautiful thing that the moon is ahead of Pluto. So the moon is in the lead in a way. It has to start embracing that power and truly embodying it, and then all the interdimensional powers, they are no more able to really get a foothold. That's what it means when we own something, when we fill it with our frequency, then whatever of lower frequency has no space in it anymore. That's where it really goes. We are just pushing, expanding, and increasing the frequency band into a range where the lower expressions are just not able to sustain, to survive, to remain. It's a natural process in that sense, and I guess it makes sense that first and foremost what is important is we, each one of us, to work on our own frequency, to get more into our hearts. That's the very basic thing there, to just sit with yourself without anything in particularly doing, just be there with open eyes or closed eyes. Just give yourself 20 minutes every day to just be and observe and be with your heart and absorb the love energy which is all around you. This is what the universe is made of. The more we can embody that, the more we can fill ourselves with that frequency, then we are doing the right thing. We improve, we raise our frequency. So anyway, this again, just no surprise here, a powerful chart, Mars-Neptune conjunction, interesting. So it is working with invisible energies on one level, but also it's a very subtle way of interaction. You be very sensitive to feel out how much you can, how far you can go, what you can say, and it's opposite the galactic center, yet another really special degree. 2711 actually in Sag is where presently the galactic center resides. So yes, we get that help from a higher dimension. There's guides and angels and ascendant masters, whatever you call them. They are here, and they haven't been ETs, maybe another one. Some of you are, and each of us experiences it in a different form. Again, this is personal choice too, and what you're resonating, vibrating with, but all of that is in that same category of invisible helpers, I would call it. Beautiful that Mars-Neptune conjunction. Actually, here in this midpoint chart you see in perfect square with the black moon. Yes, it is definitely about confronting that shadow. Very interesting, yeah. There's so much more. I just go with the most outstanding features of each chart naturally. Okay, there was another thing happening just one day after Mars entered Cancer. Venus had an occultation. This is rare. Actually, this year in particular, there were only about 4 or 5 times when a personal planet disappeared behind the moon. That's what an occultation means. At least partly for a part on Earth, we can experience that. Always difficult occultations are. It's kind of bringing that frequency of that planet Venus in this moment into a very deep amalgamation with lunar energy, and whenever the moon is amplifying something, it gets emotionally intense. I would say that is definitely the least one can say. And as you see, the moon at the high point of the occultation was here in narrow conjunction with Venus, as makes total sense, I guess, but also in here conjunction with the black moon again, and the South Node, and Juno. So this occultation was truly magnifying that energy. We were already talking about that difficult time we had in the last few days of interaction with each other, of understanding deeper layers of relationships too. It is always when something of difficulty arises, it's a gateway and an invitation to go to a deeper level, to a greater understanding. Here in the Greenwich chart again, 21, 22 degrees Libra, and you see that's where we have that prominent opposition of Juno and Chiron here in the base chart, which I talked about many times, which is really the big challenge of our times, to overcome divisions which has been seeded amongst us, to not take in that poison and not get trapped into playing along that line of red and blue and of black and white and you name it, woman and man and all of that. It is overcoming that division that it was Chiron here is hinting at, and standing together strong. So anyway, the Venus occultation enlarged, made it more important, that Mars entry into Cancer. Now let's jump ahead a little bit, fill the gap a little bit from here to there, to the November event, which we already started with. So on the 22nd of September, the moon, the sun enters Libra, the beginning of the fall season, autumn, kind of the final part of the astrological year into zero Capricorn. When at winter solstice, everything will be started from scratch. So it is the fourth quarter of crisis in thinking is the big theme here. It is the review of what has been happening the last 9 months, and now coming to an integration. That is the bigger theme of the fourth quarter of that season. The sun naturally joining also the sign the black moon is in, so this already says yes, it is a time of even more so receiving the shadow which is within interactions, within social contacts and all that, and learn why things are the way they are, that maybe they're not really as we were told, but yes. Juno here at the center of the chart again, beautiful, approaching here the return, which will be in early October. And Juno will be exactly back at its natal place, which we will get to in a later recording. Venus in the final degree of Libra 2 here, Venus being ruling the sign of Libra, particularly in its evening star phase. It is in right now. As you go out every evening, look to the west, and you will now see every day Venus becoming more bright. Venus as an evening star is all about that collective expression of hers, social responsibility, loving each other, versus in Taurus it is more personal, kind of giving yourself what you deserve and being nice to yourself. Here it is really going out into the world, sharing it. What again strikes me in this chart is the 14th degree Sagittarius rising, you see, which totally resonates with the base chart here. So this is for Greenwich, for the whole world. So it again shows, yes, in a very simple way, that the whole world's attention is focused towards this nation and what will be happening there. No question, this is exactly what is going on. I guess we all can empathize with that. Makes lots of sense. Saturn here at the T-square point, it will be it's a task, it's work. Saturn and Nessus, as I mentioned already, in the third house. Yes, it's also about speaking out the dark stuff, putting it into form, into expression, because this is what is necessary still to inform one another, to learn about all that which is not in balance. Neptune here in opposition to the Sun, well, I guess this again shows confusion is still in the lead. Yes, it is. We are still throwing sand into our eyes. It takes a little more time for that to be overcome. We're on it. It's an organic evolution we're in. That is one of the things I always want to emphasize. The slower a tree grows, the stronger its wood is. So give it time, allow for the natural progression at the speed people can adjust to. It's already super fast for many, it's already at lightning speed. So patience is really super important in our present time. Patience with one another, patience with yourself. The moon at the time in narrow conjunction with Sedna, another sign that yes, it is embracing the deep and the dark and the difficult and the complex, the hidden, the mysterious. As Sedna holds all that information of a 13,000 or whatever, 11,000 year journey around the sun, bringing back all that information of which we still have to come to terms with. That is what this really means. Then if we look at that same moment as seen through the eyes of the American people, again 22nd degree of Libra, you see it always boils down to the same things. It's Juno and Chiron. Yes, that opposition we just talked about. Chiron most exact here on the 7th house cusp. A healing journey, obvious. Let's keep going here. The next one I did again the midpoint chart with that moment of Sun entering Libra. Interesting this time is the 28th degree of Aquarius here at the root of this chart. 28th degree of Aquarius, that's where the moon is. Yes, again the moon highlighted. Grassroots people are the ones who really dictate the speed of evolution right now. All those frazzled figures which already are falling apart, which are totally inconsistent and in panic, they are on their way out, very clear. Jupiter conjunct the equatorial point. This is very promising again in that first degree of Sag, as I already showed you. Will be in here probably for the next two years because midpoints move half the speed, obviously. So this Jupiter in Sag energy, yes, pretty much into 2026 we will feel where the energies meet, where we meet with the present in that sense. The moon 15th degree of Aries in perfect opposition to Saturn here in the base chart. Another sign that things might not go exactly the way we expect. It's a sobering energy, coming to terms with a reality we have been not really yet seen in its full form, kind of. Now let's see what I have next here. I guess we're close to the end here. Yes, I guess this is the second. This is where we all started. Let's just scroll forward a little bit. I have one or two more charts I wanted to show you here. This is really the one which struck me as a powerful turning point. Yes, Mars will turn retrograde in the 7th degree of Leo on December the 6th, move back into Cancer on January the 6th, and be stationary, coming to a halt, moving forward again. This is the crucial, critical, important moment of a reboot, of a restart, which is February the 23rd, 2025. And for Philadelphia, for the United States, ground zero, Mars at the 10th house cusp. This is where we are building toward. This is the moment when true action can be initiated, which will promise to be successful. During the retrograde phase between December the 6th into this date of February 23rd, this will be a time of regrouping, renewal, going back over your resources, polishing your sword, upgrading your knowing, your wisdom, and then comes the moment of action with the moon opposing Mars again here, a perfectly grand square with the 4 angles in cardinal signs with Libra rising. I do like that. That shows that yes, it still will be very orderly, by the book, as that famous saying is, by the 17th letter of the alphabet. And with Jupiter here at the 9th house cusp approaching, this is getting out of the dark, really. That is the energy I'm feeling here. And last but not least here, I did the midpoint chart between that Mars station moving direct again with the base chart, and you bet, Pluto perfectly at the ascendant, which actually is also the degree where we had the Mars-Jupiter conjunction just a few weeks ago, which is highly charged with expansive energies. This is super promising. This will really initiate us into a new definition of togetherness and of society. So we are building towards that point. So don't be disappointed when things don't go right away the way we want. It all happens for a reason. Thank you for being here, for supporting me, and for looking at all the links I have underneath in the description. I love you all and enjoy the ride, as I like to say. It's worth it. It's a once in a lifetime experience. Thank you.